Hello, my name is Lisa Yerton, and today I'm going to talk about the typical types of cultures that are found in project management settings. I'm going to share my screen with you, so just hold on a second while I get it ready. Hello, my name is Lisa Yerton, and today I'm going to talk about the typical types of cultures found in project management settings. There are 5 types of cultures that we are going to talk about today. They are isolated cultures, uncooperative cultures, fragmented cultures, competitive cultures, and cooperative cultures. Before we discuss each of the characteristics, examples, and relevance of each kind of project management culture, it is important to understand how they became incorporated into the organization. The factors that influence project management cultures in organizations are nature of the business, the industry, the size of the organization, the amount of trust and cooperation, and the competitive environment. The first type of culture that we're going to look at is an isolated culture. The easiest way to describe this is that it's a culture within a culture. Isolated cultures usually occur in large organizations where functional units are allowed to develop their own project management styles. From past experience, this type of culture has occurred in a hospital setting. Different departments like IT, HIM, administration, radiology, EKG, etc. all work separately to provide patient care and customer service. Each department had its own software and hardware and managed projects differently. How do you think this went over when the departments had to band together to implement the electronic health record? From this example, it is important to note that isolated cultures can create more mistakes and larger problems because of the lack of cross-functionality. Implications for future projects include that this type of culture allows for specific projects to be completed efficiently internally in each department, but can be disastrous when required to work externally. The next type of project management culture is the uncooperative culture. Characteristics include prevalent mistrust, employees worrying more about themselves and personal interests than is what is best for the team, customers, or company. I am sure that we have all dealt with this type of culture to some extent. A great example when this type of culture occurs is after the restructuring of a company or department, a merger, or an acquisition. To be specific, when the electronic medical record system was implemented into the HIM department, everyone's job duties drastically changed and every team member was required to reapply for their position. This created an uncooperative atmosphere amongst the team. Instead of focusing on the procedural changes that were taking place, everyone was worried about themselves. This is relevant to our learning because the outcomes do not generate the number of project successes that are achievable. Going forward, uncooperative cultures are undesirable for future projects because there is non-existent respect, inability to cooperate, increased documentation, wasted time and resources, and cost escalation. Fragmented cultures usually occur where part of the project team is geographically separated from the rest of the team. Often this culture occurs in multinational projects where one office has a strong project management culture and another team has little or no sustainable project management culture. The World Wildlife Fund is an example of a fragmented culture. It has decentralized offices all over the world, working as a conservation network on a myriad of issues. In relation to our learning, this type of culture allows for local management decision-making, and often, when bringing offices together on joint efforts, there is a too many chiefs and not enough Indians scenario taking place. It is also difficult for the World Wildlife Fund to report outcomes and the impacts because of the non-standardized reporting metrics. When planning future projects with fragmented cultures, it will be important to emphasize the project scope and will take more time to implement an equal and standard project management culture. Competitive cultures force project teams to compete with one another for valuable corporate resources. Project managers often demand employees to show loyalty to the project over their line manager. Some industries are more conducive to competition in the workplace than others. For instance, those in the sales field will be more competitive with coworkers and teams than in other fields like information technology. It is important to note that competitive cultures can be disastrous, especially when members of the project team are working on multiple projects. When looking towards future projects, competitive cultures can be healthy in the short term when there is an abundance of work and resources, but in the long term, it is not healthy. As work and resources dwindle, project teams will get more competitive and communication will shut down, possibly causing outsourcing and a company breakdown. Cooperative cultures are defined as a culture based on trust and effective communication, both internally and externally. The culture makes decisions based on the best interest of all stakeholders. Executive sponsorship is more passive than active because problems are resolved at lower levels. Projects are managed more informally than formally, with minimum documentation and meetings only as needed. An example of a cooperative culture involves a roofing company that recently installed my new roof. The process involved a salesman coming to my home and explaining my options and basically taking my order. And then a coordinator scheduled numerous different work crews to come and deliver the supplies, deliver the dumpster, tear off the existing roof, put on the new roof, and come make any repairs. Each of these teams worked impeccably together to provide seamless service. When working on future projects, it is important to remember that this type of culture often takes years to achieve and functions in both favorable and unfavorable economic conditions. In relevance to our learning, it is important that project managers strive to implement and maintain this type of culture. In conclusion, project management team cultures are a direct correlation to the following sections of the PMBOK. Section 2.1.1, Organizational Cultures and Styles, 2.1.2, Organizational Communications, 2.1.3, Organizational Structures, 9.3.1, Develop Project Team Inputs, 9.3.2, Develop Project Team Tools and Techniques. All of the information in my presentation is referenced from our textbook, the PMBOK, as well as an external source. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed my presentation. I look forward to hearing your comments next week in our weekly discussions.